Why do spiritual people sometimes say there is no free will? You'll sometimes hear spiritual people or enlightened masters say there's no free will. They are able to step outside of the character they play and observe all the thoughts, feelings, emotions, and sensations within the body and within consciousness. They are accessing a state of being outside of their human identity. And for this conversation to make sense, you have to have some awareness that you are more than what your human identity tells you you are. Your human identity is a fragmented part of consciousness or of existence. If you experience the whole of consciousness, then boundaries are dissolved and there's no boundary between you and someone else, and so it doesn't make sense to hurt someone else. Abuse, hurt, pain, separation all takes place within a fragmented part of consciousness that perceives boundaries and separation. If you are truly in a state of integrated consciousness where there is no free will, then there is no impulse to cause harm to anyone else. Because the impulse to cause harm comes from a separated, fractured identity or consciousness. And a person in this state will use the idea of no free will to justify causing harm. But to them, the idea of no free will is only an idea and not a lived experience in that moment. Because if they directly experience the consciousness where free will does not exist, the boundary between them and others would also be dissolved, and they would lose any impulse to cause harm or get revenge on anyone else. The truth of the matter is that the mind uses self-deception to justify evil, and we can bring up the topic of the Zen devil. Leo Guru talks about it on his channel, actualize.org. I have a theory about how this can happen. Someone can have an enlightened experience where they experience no free will, and then come back into the regular human state of consciousness, but not realize it. The mind can deceive them into thinking they're still in that enlightened state, but then the boundaries come back, the separation comes back in an unconscious way, and the desire to harm someone comes up, and then the mind deceives itself that, there's no problem, there's no free will. Because you can't truly be in that fully enlightened state and want to cause harm at the same time. Often people will have enlightened experiences where they will go into a state which transcends their normal human experience, but they won't be able to maintain that state. So just because they've gotten to that state doesn't mean they're still in it and continue to be in it. It takes a lot more work to embody that state on a permanent basis. Because you could have that enlightened experience and then have more shadow material brought up that needs to be brought into awareness and integrated. Enlightenment isn't simply a destination that you arrive at. Reality is infinite, and your experience of reality, therefore, can be infinite as well. So enlightenment is going deeper and deeper into exploring that reality.